And I'd like to welcome you and call to order the November 12th, 2024 Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. First we'll read our guiding principles. Councilmember Patty, would you like to do this?
Yeah, guiding principles. Are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building positive connections with our community and outside partners? Is the decision-making process building a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community?
Thank you. And now, Chief Brown, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any visitors, or would any of you like to comment for our citizens comments?
Mayor Pro Tem, we have an approval of the agenda.
I'm sorry,
And
never mind that, we'll come back to that. All right, first, approval of the agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think, Councilmember Ward would like to make a amendment to the agenda.
I would, thank you. I'd like to remove from the agenda business item, sorry, I just wrong this up, it's too busy. C. Thank you. Business item C, I'd like to remove that from tonight's agenda and move it to possible work study, our next work study. Ms. Archer is going to work on it, see if we can discuss it at the work study, but it might be our next council meeting.
All in favor of tabling business item 7C? Please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
So Mayor, I therefore move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second. All right, all in favor of the agenda as amended, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, say nay. The agenda is approved as amended. Okay, now we have our first citizens comment portion. If there's anyone online who'd like to speak, please raise your hand. And if there's anyone in the audience who'd like to speak, please.
Hi.
The dais. Doesn't look like anyone online wants to speak.
Right, so no members of the audience online have raised their hands. And just a reminder, Mayor Pro Tem, that we have 2 public hearings tonight, so the citizens' comments can comment on anything that's not the 2 public hearings.
Thank you. All right, next we have the consent agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The consent agenda is approved. And right now, we have a presentation of the police commission ceremony.
Good evening, council members, mayors, and friends and families of our officers and teammates. It is fantastic to look out on this gathering and see so many that were able to join us tonight. And so many of you were able to bring your families. The team we have built here is truly one of the most amazing with which I've had the honor to serve. They truly care about each other in this community, and they demonstrate it every day. To our team, thank you for standing proud and moving forward. You guys are pros. It is my pleasure to hold this commissioning ceremony and introduce our 6 newest officers. And I'm also honored to recognize 2 members of our department who successfully completed a 6-month undergraduate course in law enforcement leadership. So I'd first like to bring up Deputy Chief Andrew Brandon and Sergeant Josh Horst. They love this part. So Deputy Chief Brandon oversees our operations division, and Sergeant Horsley leads our general investigations. In the late fall of 2023, both were enrolled in Northwestern University's School of Police Staff and Command. This 25-week course is an intensive leadership and management education program intended to prepare experienced law enforcement professionals for success in senior command positions. Developed in 1983, SPSC has been offered to law enforcement members throughout the United States and internationally. The curriculum combines academic principles with practical applications and hone skills in critical command role content such as strategic planning and policies, media relations, organizational behavior, budgeting and resource allocation, human resources, contemporary policing, and more. Deputy Chief Brandon and Sergeant Horsley continue to work full-time while attending this course. This is doubly impressive as the coursework has been described as nearly a whole semester's load. Both graduated this spring with honors, although I do want to point out that Sergeant Horsley beat Deputy Chief Brandon by 1 percentage point. 0.1. Still beat you. Anyway, for your hard work and dedication to our profession and to our team, it's my honor to present both of you to Frank graduation certificate. No. I'll put them on the screen. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. So if I can bring our 16 officers up to. Well, I'll be squeezing our first, it's a large fabric. So I intend just to do a quick introduction so that you guys can understand where they're coming from, and then we'll do our law enforcement code of ethics, and then we'll do our oath. So Officer Nathan Abbey is originally from San Diego, California, and prior to joining our department, he served as a Navy hospital corpsman at Naval Hospitals and alongside Marines. Nathan is supported by his wife Shannon and 2 children, Brandon and Logan, and in his free time he enjoys exercising and spending time with his family. Officer Alexis Casillas Manzano is from Homestead, Florida, and served in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Army Reserve for a total of 9 years. He arrived at Kitsap County, his wife Ignacia, and serves as an active duty sailor. He enjoys hiking and spending time with his wife and 2 children, Gabrielle and Leah. Officer Ryan Pendleton is originally from Colorado Springs and came to the Pacific Northwest while serving in the United States Navy. He spent 5 years of his naval career serving on submarines in the Pacific Fleet and continues to serve in the Navy Reserves. Ryan is supported by his family in Colorado and friends here in Port Orchard. In his free time, he enjoys fitness, exploring the outdoors with his dog, who didn't come tonight. Would have been welcome, but that's all right. And spending time with his friends. Officer Zachary Short moved to Port Orchard in 2011 after growing up around the country while his father served in the United States Navy. And in 2019, he began his law enforcement career as a federal police officer for the Department of Defense. Zachary is supported by his fiancee Lexi, parents Jimmy and Christine, and his brothers Logan and Tristan. He spends his free time golfing, coaching baseball, and enjoying time with family and friends. Catch that theme. Aaron Wagner was born in San Diego, and when he was 8 years old, his father was stationed at Naval Base Bremerton, which brought him to Port Orchard. He comes from a large family of military service members and first responders. Prior to joining with us, he spent 4 years to the EMT for Olympic Ambulance and did a short stint as a call taker for South Sound 911 in Pierce County. Looks forward to serving the community in which he grew up. Is supported by his wife Amanda and 3 children, Kyla, Kenna, and William. In his free time, he's an avid baseball fan and enjoys watching the season with his family. And finally, Officer Joe Stutch was originally from Walpole, New Hampshire. He served 5 years in the United States Navy and was stationed in Hawaii. After his service, he and his wife moved back to New Hampshire and started their family. While in New Hampshire, Joseph spent 5.5 years as a police officer for the Swansea Police Department. But they moved here in June 2024 to be closer to his wife's family. Off duty, he spending time with his family, enjoying the outdoors and fishing. I'm gonna probably pick his brain on some off-road stuff too. So I'm gonna read our law enforcement code of ethics. This is a component of our profession that I find incredibly important. In fact, I shared with them right before we came in here. I still have my original commission from 25 years ago that was signed by the sheriff and included that code of ethics that hangs in my closet.
When I get dressed every day, it's a reminder of my obligation to my team and to my community. So as a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve the community, safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all, to liberty, equality, and justice. I will keep my private life unsullied as integral to all who will behave in a manner which does not bring discredit to me or my agency. I will maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule, develop self-restraint, be constantly mindful of the welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed in both my personal and official life, I will be exemplary in obeying the law of the land and the regulations of my department. Whatever I see or hear of a confidential nature or that is confided to me in my official capacity will be kept ever secret unless revelation is necessary in the performance of my duty. I will never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudices, political beliefs, aspirations, animosities, or friendships to influence my decision. With no compromise for crime, with relentless prosecution of criminals, I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without fear, favor, malice, or ill will, never employing unnecessary force or violence, never accepting gratuities. I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of the police service. I will never engage in acts of bribery, nor will I condone such acts by other police officers. I will cooperate with all legally authorized agencies and their representatives in the pursuit of justice. For I know that I alone am responsible for my own standard of professional performance, and will take every opportunity to enhance and improve my level of knowledge and competence. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself to my chosen profession, law enforcement. So let's go ahead and raise our right hands, gentlemen. I state your name. Having been duly appointed as a peace officer for the city of Fort Worth, Washington.
Oh, sure.
I'll break it in small
Yeah,
chunks.
there
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of my appointment as prescribed by law to the best of my ability, and that I will support and enforce the ordinances of the city of Port Orchard, the laws and constitution of the state of Washington, and the Constitution of the United States of America. Congratulations. Council, like a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys could fill in there, and then Deputy Chief Washington can take the picture.
I think we just stand here. We just,
Yes,
yeah,
come over here.
that'll be a little bit easier.
I can stand it. I'm not gonna be taller.
Somebody can stand next to Scott. He's sick. Just kidding.
He'll be out in a second. But if you guys want to take pictures too, I will certainly share, but if you guys, now's the time. Nathan, you're the only one not smiling, man. All right,
Let's go around.
you guys want to take one picture? Good? Okay. Yeah, please go. We'll have plenty more pictures downstairs too.
Have 6 of them.
Congratulations. The group that we've hired since March when we did the last ceremony. So we're continuing to move forward, and we're hoping early next year that we'll be at full staffing, but I don't want to jinx us.
No, it's great to see.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
Okay. All right.
Well, now we have two public hearings and we're ready for the first one.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I can remind you to speak closer to the microphone. We're having some people online not able to hear tonight, so I'm trying to mess with the settings online to see if that will help. But if you can project your voice tonight, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Is this better? Hopefully. Okay, we're ready for the first public hearing. And I believe it's with you, Clerk Wallace.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. So on September 14, 2024, the city received a request for an animal variance from Josiah and Caitlin Garcia, located at 1118 Sydney Avenue. They are requesting a variance for 3 dogs and 3 cats. Included in the packet tonight was the application as well as a letter that expressed their hardship should the animals not be granted a license. Staff has notified the adjacent property owners in accordance with Port Orchard Municipal Code, Chapter 1.12.090, subsection 2, including notifying them of the request as well as this public hearing tonight. So at this time, staff recommends that the Mayor Pro Tem open the public hearing for public testimony.
Okay, I open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak? Yes. Please come up and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Katie, Caitlin Garcia, my husband, Josiah Garcia. We recently moved to Port Orchard towards the beginning of August. And well, we've got a lot of kiddos. They all came from different parts of life. We've been there for them as much as they have been there for us. And to be perfectly honest, I could probably write you a book on everything that we've been through together. Gosh, I don't really know where to begin, but I don't want to babble. So if there are any questions, concerns, we are an open book. We're as transparent as possible, and we just are hoping to make the community aware that we have a lot of responsibility, and it's mainly just our declaration for registering. So that's why we're here.
I read all your stuff, and if I was a husky, I'd want to be in your family. Okay.
We've got 6 of them between the both of us. Mm-hmm. And 3 cats. 2 of them are baggage of mine from before we were married, but my husband and I have been happily married for about 10 years. And before we moved to Port Orchard, I was a full-time pet sitter. I did daycare and boarding, so animal behavior is actually my bread and butter. I find it extremely fascinating, and huskies are something that I have a bleeding heart for. So quite a few of our kiddos come from humble beginnings, and they wouldn't be here if I hadn't seen them. So yeah.
Have any of your neighbors expressed any concerns over the amount
No,
of pets?
actually, I have one neighbor today.
Oh, perfect. No, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one too that probably join. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as any of their more immediate concerns, I would just be honest and transparent about some of their background. A few of them come from a rescue, so there's a lot of rehabilitation efforts that have been put forth to help with their integration into our family. Me having a boarding and daycare background, that was just something that came pretty naturally to me to help with their integration. And they are one with the pack as of now. But of course, the first few months that we had them in Kirkland, a few of them had to make a few adjustments, and that was something that I would adhere to pretty regularly. My husband and I both work from home full time, and we still work from home full time. I'm not doing boarding and daycare in Port Orchard. I actually do pop-up markets every now and again, but animal advocacy is sort of the back end of of my small business, and my husband works from home full-time, like I said. So we are home 24/7. The animals really are rarely alone. I don't feel comfortable being away from them for too long anyway, so that's just my, I guess, my offer as far as, because, well, if you're away from animals for too long, they tend to be a little bit mischievous. So I'm never not around them, to be perfectly honest. If we're ever gone for a long period of time, it can be maybe 3 to 4 hours at most, but that's just because traveling back to Kirkland to see my mom is always like a 2-hour endeavor. So it's, that's pretty much all that I have to offer for this. Yeah.
Do you plan on adding any more?
No, not at all.
This is the
So, yeah.
cap. This is the cap.
Yep, it's the cap. Yeah, oh yeah, one chihuahua, no. We do, actually, this was a very recent issue that had populated the, one of my huskies was a foster. We were being sponsored for fostership by Paws and Claws Rescue, but within the past few weeks, they had let the foster system know that they are unfortunately going under. So my husband and I have the intention of going forward with his full adoption if we are to be approved today. If not, then there are the regulations in place to help rehome. Oso is his name, but he's an older fellow, and he's really attached to our family. So it's something that it would be a really hard transition for him either way. But
Yeah. You seem like a very responsible pet owner.
Thank
All the
you.
family does.
I get it from my mom. They are kiddos.
Oh, I get it. I don't have any grandkids, so I got some animals too.
We, since we moved to Port Orchard, I also wanted to add, we have their new vet appointments scheduled to update all of their vaccine information. In the move, a few of them have lapsed for those. So it's something that we're really on top of. And yeah, just to add.
How or when did you hear about the need for a variance for the animals?
Oh, I never received any notification or anything like that. Even our realtor let us know that it would, obviously, we chose Port Orchard specifically for the accommodation of having so many animals. But as far as any of the specific regulations, I took it upon myself to do the research. I didn't know if there was any stricter regulations. So I prefer to do my due diligence, making sure everybody's covered. In the case of any sort of incriminating, I'm very paranoid about certain situations happening, like if any of our kiddos got stolen because they're friendly, or if they ran away and somebody found them. I am very particular about making sure they have everything that they would need so that they're not being put in an incriminating situation. So I took it upon myself to do the research.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from council? Or would anyone else from the public like to offer comments or speak to the council? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, if you wanted to say any more, we'd probably ask you to come up to this microphone. Okay,
Yeah,
all
thank
right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if hearing.
And Mayor Pro Tem, I should have pointed out for the record, I did place a map on the area. So the
Okay.
highlighted green area is the home that's asking for the variance. And then all of the adjacent property owners that are on to the left, to the right, I'm directionally challenged, so I'll use my simple directional. So all the parcels that are located in the front, behind, left, and right of the highlighted green areas have all been notified of
Thank
this public hearing tonight.
Thank you. Okay. And I pulled up the street view on Google Maps. Okay. Yeah, I walk probably 3 houses from your house every morning. I walk along Sydney close to your house. Yeah.
Right next door.
Oh, okay. 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 Yeah. I will have to walk by and see. Then, okay. If there are no further comments on this, I'm going to close the public hearing. And we'll come back to this as a business item.
Mhm.
And next, we have another public hearing on the proposed budget. I believe that's Director Crocker.
Thank you, Direct. Go ahead. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. We have here the second public hearing on the proposed 25-26 biennial budget. So in addition to the public hearing on the preliminary budget and on the revenue sources that occurred on October 22nd, the city is required to hold a second public hearing on the proposed 25-26 biennial budget on or before the first Monday of December. This hearing allows council to hear public input on the proposed budget, consider those public comments, and make any changes as indicated by the majority of the council. Staff would recommend that we open and hold the public hearing, but after opening, I'd like to do a brief presentation before we introduce public comment, just to cover a couple changes from the preliminary budget to the proposed final.
Okay, the public hearing is officially opened.
Thank you. So in your packet, I want to point to, Brandy, are you able to navigate over there? Or would you like me to share my screen? Did you go to 6B, the highlights, and then scroll down to the final page? One more, I think. Right there. So we met as a group, and the council directed, we had a great discussion about it. So I just want to share kind of the changes that were made from that meeting. We did go back and add the full-time public works maintenance technician to the parks and facilities as requested. In order to do so, we also had to remove one seasonal parks employee. We did add additional $110,000 to street preservation as requested. We did make a note to add the communication part-time position to the mid-biennial review. Further down, you'll see additional final adjustments from the preliminary budget. Again, first, the maintenance tech position, reduction of the seasonal position, so we'll have 5 seasonals. We did reduce 1 full-time equivalent for the courts clerk to fund this change. The additional $110,000 for street preservation. And then there were certain things that I'm always looking for, cleanup measures, things that we just caught as we kind of continue through this process. So those are what you'll see listed down here below. We added an additional $200,000 for citywide street lights, and this is gonna be grant funded. 302, we added an additional $1.5 million for beginning fund balance for City Hall expenditures. Again, we're wrapping up City Hall, but some of the expenditures may trickle into 25 and 26. So this is merely just allowing us enough dollars to pay the bills when they come in January and February. We had originally $1 million, but where we're sitting today in the progress, as we're waiting for some supplies to come, I didn't feel comfortable with only $1 million of expenditure authority as we're trying to wrap this project up. I expected we needed a little bit more. So that's what you see there with the 1.5 million additional revenue and expenses. TIP 1.16, SR 166, again, looking through all our projects, we reduced that grant and expenditure funding by $850,000. TIP 1.4 Edison Hill Roundabout, we increased our design budget by $55,000 to provide for what we think were additional costs. We added some highway safety street lighting grant revenue, another $220,000. Again, we have both those citywide tree line projects in the current biennial budget. And some of that work got complete, but not all of it. So I'm just rebudgeting that for 25, 26. And then there's minor adjustments that just help the budget look a little more easy to read. And I just call them rounding adjustments. You'll see, $10 here, cents here, just to round off the numbers in the budget. There was a transfer correction. So a little bit later in our discussion, we're going to cover reserve policy. When I went through that exercise to recalculate our stabilization accounts as well as our working capital balances, I came into an overfunding of stabilization for 421. So I'm correcting that. I'm going to back down some storm stabilization funds and reallocate that towards preservation and capital projects. Lastly, some more rounding, and then the Sydney Force Main increase of $1,040,000 we talked about in our last meeting. So those are the highlights on that slide there. Brandy, if you could go to the comparison spreadsheet. It says 6.B final comparison. Thank you. So on this document, I just want to kind of walk through this. So I covered at a high level. This actually allows you to now see the financial changes. So we start with our far left column, our 23-24 current biennial budget. We have then in the next column, our 25-26 preliminary budget that we've already gone over. And the third column is our final proposed budget at this time, and the changes from preliminary to final. So again, let me just put this out. For the current expense fund, you'll see a change of $3. Call that the rounding. You'll see the change of expenditure authority at $43,600, and then a change in any fund balance of $42,596. Again, all those kind of high-level adjustments we went through with the parks employee, reducing the court employee, reducing the seasonal, resulted in these financial changes. Likewise, you'll see here on the city street fund, we're bringing in $260,000 of additional revenue and increasing $310,000 of expense authority to accommodate the changes. The $50,000 is a slight decrease in ending fund balance, but again, the council was committed to adding additional dollars to preservation. You can continue to scroll through this document all the way down. You'll see the additional changes to our impact fee fund, the $55,000 for design work, the 302 fund, $1.5 million for City Hall, increase in beginning fund balance, as well as additional $1.5 million of expenditure authority. Some modifications to our street capital projects. Again, water operating had $10 of rounding, so just minor adjustments there. You'll see even further down on our stabilization fund, storm fund 422. You'll see that's where I corrected $300,000. It was overfunded. So once I redid the calculation, we were able to reduce that and use those proceeds, use that money towards then a capital preservation project. And then lastly, the last big one is that sewer capital, $1,040,000 for things SR 166 Bay Street. The last document I want to pull up, Randy, is the capital budgets update. Again, this is anything new I've kind of highlighted in the mayor's highlights or the biennial highlights, highlighted financially. And then I just want to highlight on this capital construction budget. You'll see the capital construction budget in total went up roughly $2 million, that $1.5 million in that 302 fund, as well as the sewer capital $1,040,000 in that fund as well, compared to what you guys have previously seen. So I want to make sure I point those out. Those were the adjustments that we were making from the preliminary to the final that we discussed. And then some are cleanup measures, as well as identifying, opportunities that for reappropriation, like the street lights.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, just quickly before we get to public comment, Director Crocker, the 302, that's just changing the beginning balance, correct? We didn't spend those dollars. We're just rebudgeting the 1.5 for the expenses for City Hall that you just haven't paid yet.
Yes,
correct.
That's a correct.
And the other $1 million just is our Sydney for the sewer capital. So I think those are the two big ones other than the street capital projects at 575. So looks good. Thank you for your hard work on this.
Yeah, and again, as we continue to work through this process, we'll still have another week. We'll close out some more accounts payables this following week. I'll reassess 23 and 24. I don't expect anything to change for 25, 26, but I tried to grab as many cleanup items as I could now, and none of them were very significant. So the big significant was what council requested was the additional funding for transportation, $110,000, and then adding the parks facility employee.
Okay. Would anyone like to comment on the budget present, or anyone online care to offer any comments? If you're online, please raise your hand if you would like to comment. And it doesn't look like we have any further public comment. So I'm going to officially close the public comment period.
Yeah.
Here. Needs to be louder. Okay. All right. And now we're ready for business item 1. It's on page 87. And this is the approval of the animal variance. I believe it's City Clerk Wallace.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. As you recall, earlier this evening, we held a public hearing. The public hearing was regarding a request for an animal variance from Josiah and Caitlin Garcia, located at 1118 Sydney Avenue. Again, they're requesting a variance for 3 dogs and 3 cats. Included in the public hearing packet were the applications and a letter expressing their hardship. Just remind you that Port Orchard Municipal Code Section 7.12.090 regarding animal ownership restrictions regarding that variance states that the number of dogs and cats at a single family dwelling unit shall be restricted to a total of 3 dogs and or cats, except this restriction shall not apply to owners or operators of a fully licensed hobby kennel. Subsection 2 says that a request for a variance of an ownership restrictions as stated above may be submitted to the City Council. And upon receipt of that completed variance application, the clerk shall set a public hearing a date before the council, which we did and was held tonight. Notice of such public hearing shall be given to all adjacent property owners of the subject property not less than 10 days or more than 30 days prior to the date of the hearing, which has been done. And then upon that variance, it shall be granted when A, the strict enforcement of the provisions of this chapter will create an undue hardship, and that the variance will not create a health or safety hazard. Staff has notified all the adjacent property owners, and as I do believe here, we do have an adjacent neighbor here tonight that did provide public testimony. As of to date, I have not received any other written or verbal comments or phone calls in opposition or support of either way of this approval of the vacation or variance. So with that, staff recommends that the council approve the variance if it will not create a health or safety hazard, and that the strict enforcement of this section of the Port Orchard Municipal Code will create undue hardship on pet owners.
Councilmember Fenton.
I move to authorize the variance be granted to Caitlin Garcia for 6 animals, 3 cats, and 3 dogs. The variance is specific to the animals listed to the application dated 9/24/2024 and are not transferable to any other animals.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. Thank you for your testimony today. I want to thank you for being responsible pet owners in our city and knowing that you are above that. So I am in full support of allowing for this variance.
Yes, agree.
Yes. First. Councilmember Diener or Rosa Pepe?
I'll go ahead. Excuse me, I got a bit of a cough. So it seems like you're good and impassioned caregivers, which I really appreciate. However, the variance relies on an undue hardship, and in this case, separation of animals. And I think that anybody could come in and ask for variance making the same claim, which kind of diffuses the usefulness of the variance process for more than 3 pets. And if this were 1 pet, I could look at it differently, but it's for 300% of what code allows. And so I personally do not see the undue hardship or let me rephrasing it another way. I think everybody would be able to claim the same undue hardship, and that would mean that we'd be approving all variances. That's all that I have at that particular moment. Yeah.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Unfortunately, I'm in the same boat as Councilmember Diener because we have a code for a reason. I'd feel differently if it was 1/3, and I am in the same boat that we're going down a slippery slope once we start approving variances.
And I would add, without considering the intent of code.
Is there any further discussion?
I think we should have more animals.
Okay, yes.
Well, then we should change.
Councilmember
Okay.
Isn't that what we're doing?
One at a time, please.
I do have a question, and probably Charlie, this applies to the 6 pets because it's by name. So when one pet, for lack of better words, deceases, it's not, okay, now we can have 6 pets. It's just going to be 5 pets that we have, correct?
Correct. It's not transferable to
Transferable.
new.
And I read that, but I just want to make double sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Further comments?
I just wanted to respond to the councilor's comment about we should change the code and that we're doing it now. This isn't changing the code now. This is granting an exception and a wild exception to existing code that was established for a reason of 3 pet limit in the Port Orchard city limits.
I will just comment that I was actually present at the discussion when this code was brought about. And it was actually in the former City Hall building. And I remember I was much younger then, not understanding the limits on pets. But I do understand how the code was passed and what it says. So I am understanding the arguments of both Councilmembers Diener and Rosa Pepe. I guess my personal feeling is that I would actually suggest that this ordinance come up for discussion perhaps in another work study. I'm not sure that I agree with the limits, but that's not what we're here for tonight. Tonight we're based on the way that the code that we have. We are to vote on the motion or against it. Yes, Councilmember Warden.
Speaking to the mayor a couple weeks ago regarding this topic, he stated that in the past, the practice, if people came before and stated the same thing, I do not know how many times it's come up, but he told me that that was the practice, which was to, if they had 6 pets, they were not to add. If one deceased, they're not to add, and they're to get back down to the legal number. I'm not sure how to word that, apologize. Acceptable number. Has there been numerous few couple situations that were similar to this that the city has granted?
In the 16 years that I've been in the clerk's office, working on the pet variances, we probably only had 3 or 4 in that time span. Typically, they're either 1 or 2 over the requested of the 3 limit. So either they have 4 animals or 5 animals, but that's typically the max. And like I said, we probably only had 3 or 4 over the 16 years that I've been here.
Okay, and if I was to hear you right, you're in the midst of trying to adopt or rescue 2 more to make it 3 dogs. Is that correct?
We currently have 6 dogs, 3 cats.
Currently in your home. Okay.
And the application already includes the one that was lost.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's hard to, for someone to adopt a senior dog. It's hard.
That's their number. She saved them over the phone and had them shipped here by, a carrier company, just to save this off the Death Road. She had the leg amputated just to save her life. Holy cow, who does that? Who does that?
I have two additional thoughts. One is that this issue, it seems, comes up when people try to license their animals and then they find out that there's a limit. So if someone were to live in city limits with a number of pets and they didn't license them, we would not be aware of how many pets they have. So
Correct.
I want to once again applaud the owners for being, trying to license your pets. I need to see if mine is licensed actually. And my second question, and Brandy, I asked you early and we may not have an answer, is the code does mention that this does not apply to owners or operators of a duly licensed hobby kennel. So I'm just wondering what a hobby kennel is and how difficult or what is involved in getting that type of a license. Because the way that I read this, it sounds like if somebody had this kennel or license, they would not be subject to these limits. Do we know if anyone in the city has a hobby kennel, or how would we even know?
So the hobby kennel would come through my office, and the 16 years that I've been here, we have not had that come before the council for consideration. And from what I understand, reading the code, a hobby kennel list or a hobby kennel is basically means that it's a non-commercial residential kennel with the purpose of keeping dogs and or cats owned by one individual. A hobby kennel is limited to a maximum of 10 dogs and or cats. It's just a different process. There's a application fee, I believe $250 that they would apply for that hobby kennel. There's a requirement of a public hearing notifying the adjacent property owners. They would also be subject to animal control routine inspections. The council, if they authorize the hobby kennel license, then your approval would go to animal control, and animal control would have the final authority of actually issuing that hobby kennel license. And then they monitor it and do the inspections from there.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, it seems like that is the path forward that meets code. And so I would encourage us to, so another question I have is was the applicant made aware of this at any point in the past, that there's a hobby kennel provision? Okay. It did not, you read the definition, correct, Brandy?
Correct.
Yeah, and it did mention it. So I think there's a method and means to get you where you need to be. I don't think a variance is it. I feel like you're probably more of a hobby kennel based on what we just heard. And that would assuage my concerns about the variance.
So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I would like to just quick point of order. We're here to talk about a variance. So we're getting outside of that scope a little bit. And two, it would dawn on me that there shouldn't be a single birth of an animal, via cat or dog, in the city of Port Orchard city limits if we were to adhere to 100% of this ordinance. Or if you had a dog that became impregnated at any point in time, you would need to quickly get your hobby license. So again, I'm going to reiterate my thoughts are I would like to reward these folks for coming forth and doing the right thing. It sounds like they're very responsible pet owners and neighbors. So I'd like to honor that's my intentions here today, but I would also like to say that if we want to continue having a conversation about changing that, we could do that in the future. Thank you.
Agree.
Thank you for that distinction. Are there any other comments from council? Mr. Warden, it looked like you wanted to say something, or?
I think, yeah, I was going to ask about the hobby kennel, but I think we need to stay on track of discussion that we're having currently. Um, Jeez.
Okay, I do have a question for Randy that I think is on point, which is in the case that a request is made and it is denied, how is it remedied? Are licenses not given out to as requested or? Is there part of the code that's we haven't seen?
So as I understand, the portion of the code is if the variance is denied, they cannot obtain an animal license. So because they cannot obtain a animal license, they will be in violation per animal per day. It's a penalty civil infraction. The fine for any infraction shall be $40 for the first violation, $75 for the second, committed within 1 year. So I'm assuming if they're still holding on to those animals, it would go to a third one of $100, committed within 1 year. Each and every day or portion thereof in which the infraction is committed shall constitute a separate and distinct infraction. So they would be penalized.
Okay.
Financially.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you for, yes.
just to add, from an enforcement standpoint, this, like all of our code enforcement, is complaint driven.
Yeah.
So it is not that the animal control would go out tomorrow to their home were you to deny the license. It is complaint driven. We are not proactive in that way. We simply can't. We don't have the financial resources for that.
And if I can just tag on to that, I also believe that if an applicant comes to us and say they're willing to work with us, apply for a hobby kennel application, for example, we hold off on enforcement so long as they're willing to work with the city.
Do we hold off on our, I apologize, do we hold off on our vote tonight?
Hold off on
our
I'm
vote
talking about
tonight?
enforcement of a violation if they were denied a variance tonight. If they were to come in for a hobby kennel.
I have
Like
one,
John said, that's not our discussion. Like mostly
No.
right here.
It's Councilmember Ward.
yeah, I do have a question. I've actually had this question a few times in my head. I haven't asked it. On the agenda staff report, where it says the recommendation, staff recommends, who is staff? Who is staff? Your staff that recommends?
Me in interpreting the code.
And it's written, and we try to write it in a way that is not actually making a recommendation. So she's merely written it as staff recommends you approve if it will not. And that's the way that the code is written. Yeah,
okay.
exactly. So she's not saying she recommends you approve or she recommends you deny. And staff, we try to do that and be as sort of Nick's an exception. He tries to tell you what to do, but everyone else, just kidding. We really do try to keep it neutral, and that was her attempt. So
I think I was reading it maybe a little too literal when I was reading that. So thank you for answering that, because
Okay, are there any further comments or discussion? Okay, I guess, okay. We have a motion and a second, so all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, and the motion passes 4-2.
Ms. Mills,
Yes.
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 no more, no more.
Okay, our next item is, okay, let's see. Adoption of an ordinance establishing benefits for non-represented employees. I believe this is Director Lund.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, everyone. From time to time, the city reviews its benefits offerings to employees to ensure our benefits remain competitive in comparison with our neighboring jurisdictions. Benefits offered are set by City Council via ordinance. The ordinance before the council tonight would continue current benefit offerings on the same terms as provided this year to non-represented employees with the following exceptions. The dental plan offered through Delta Dental would change from Plan A to Plan F. Plan F is a more benefit-rich plan, offering an additional $500 per year of dental coverage to each person insured. Secondly, a new dental plan offering of Willamette Dental $15 copay plan. That would be a new dental plan that non-represented employees could choose to participate in. The third is addition of a second pair option to the current vision plan that non-represented employees have. This option allows individuals to obtain a second set of glasses or contacts every other year for a $20 copay. Fourth is to move the HSA services to HSA Bank. They're currently with Kitsap Bank, but HSA Bank offers an investment option that we believe would be of interest to participants. The fiscal impact for this is roughly $4,500 for 2025, and the budget has been built with these benefits included in there. Therefore, staff is recommending adoption of an ordinance authorizing certain benefits for non-represented employees effective January 1, 2025, as shown in the attached ordinance.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt an ordinance establishing certain employee benefits for non-represented employees effective January 1st, 2025.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, Director Lund, you said $4,000. I assume that's a difference and not the total cost for the year.
That is correct. I wish that was the total cost.
Okay, perfect.
As does Director Crocker.
As do the rest of us too, but I wanted to get that clarification.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend approval on this, mainly because not only as healthcare go up, we need to take care of our employees, but also we've been working very hard through the years, and Councilmember Chang, Councilmember Diener can attest to making this a city of choice for employment. And I think we saw that with 6 officers tonight, a couple who I believe transferred from other agencies. So as we continue to do that, I think that we need to make sure that we support our employees as fiscally responsible, but still with looking at that. And I commend Debbie and her team, because I know they put a lot of time into researching these benefits and looking for them. I know there's financial impacts, et cetera, so I haven't forgotten about your team either, Noah. So I strongly recommend approval of this by council.
Director Lund, approximately how many employees would be affected by this?
About 50, about half of,
Okay.
about 50, about half of our employees are non-represented.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember Worden.
Yeah, I'm just shocked that this is a conversation. I'm not being serious. Like, I mean, I'm really surprised that we're holding a conversation about giving full-time employees benefits or not. If anything, this should have been on the items that we just grouped together and, say yes on. So
Consent.
That's all I have to say. Like, I'm really surprised. I'm not represented employee either, my day job, and I didn't even know that was a conversation. So that's all I have to say.
I'd be happy to put future items on the consent agenda.
Any more? See
Wait a
myself
minute.
or down for it. So go ahead, please.
No, just as a separate, my personal is that we would continue to put these on the action. And the reason being that we're transparent with the public about what we're doing and when they have cost. That's, I think it's the right thing to do. And so I agree with you in principle, but we have a fiduciary obligation also.
Okay. Any further comments? If not, any in favor of the ordinance, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. And it passes unanimously. And the next item is item D. We're skipping C. Item D is the adoption of a resolution and accepting the responsible bidder and approving a contract with Kitsap Sun for the city's official newspaper. Clerk Wallace.
All right, good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Pursuant to RCW 35A.40.210 and 35.23.352 subsection 7, it requires that each city or town designate an official city newspaper of general population is less than 20,000. So the newspaper shall be of general circulation within the city or town and shall have been published regularly, at least once a week. Request for newspaper publication services was noticed and published on October 16th, as well as October 20th, with bids being received no later than 2 p.m. on October 21st, 2024. The city actually received only one bid this year. It was from Kitsap Sun, and their cost for a single line would be $1.96. And then they've also indicated that their paid circulation numbers within the city Port Orchard limits was 391, and then within the South Kitsap urban growth area was 674, and they are in audited circulation. That's just part of some of the RCW requirements that they be audited, I believe. So with that, staff recommends the adoption of a resolution accepting the bid and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Kitsap Sun as being the city's official newspaper.
Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt a resolution accepting the bid and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with the Kitsap Sun as the city's official newspaper as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mr.
Just for new council members, one of our items that we continue to lobby for is doing away with this archaic method of notification. We've tried to go online, permanently, and we don't get a lot of traction with the legislature. It's far down the list. We did have years ago tried to get a little competition with I think it was the Independent, it was cheaper, but then there's one week they don't publish, so they fall out of violation of publishing every week as a requirement. So it's kind of an interesting one that this pops up every year, and we all go,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. Eventually it will change, but so it goes.
I appreciate the info. I wasn't aware of that.
There is also the newspaper lobby, which has some influence. So it's not likely to go away. Is there any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And it passes unanimously. Okay. And our next item is the adoption of a resolution approving amendment number 3 to contract 7414 with Granicus for SmartGov permitting services and approval of services to meet Senate Bill 5290 permitting obligations. And I believe this is Director Bont.
Yes, good evening. Before the City Council tonight is a resolution to approve Amendment 3 to Contract 74-14 with Granicus Inc., previously Brightly, Dude Solutions, and Paladin Data Systems for the SmartGov permitting software system. SmartGov is the city's system for permit tracking, application review, fee calculation, and for scheduling inspections. Amendment 3 extends our contract term for a full 2 budget cycles and adds a one-time system configuration fee to ensure that the city is able to report and comply with Senate Bill 5290 concerning permit processing timelines. The annual fee will be $24,682 in 2025, increasing thereafter by 5% annually through the end of 2028. The additional one-time fee is in the amount of $15,180. The staff recommendation is to approve a resolution approving Amendment 3 to Contract 74-14, including additional services to meet the city's Senate Bill 5290 permitting obligations.
Councilmember Rosapepe.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute amendment number 3 to contract number C074-14 with Granicus for, I'm sure I didn't say that right, for SmartGov permitting services and a contract for additional services to meet the city's SB 5290 permitting obligations.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second.
Yeah, this is something that we talked about at our last meeting, bringing it forward. Land use has discussed this, DCD and Director Bond, and we're fully supportive of this to move forward.
Okay, any further questions?
I guess a little question. If you can just elaborate just a little bit more, especially for viewers, because I was going over this. I mean, there's quite a bit to read on this government software, and then I was reading like the third party, and they don't deal with the third party. And then is this just for the employees. It's not for the public use, right? It's just for you guys.
Well, the majority of the software is an internal system we use to track information.
Mhm.
There is a public-facing portal portion of this where you can go online and request inspections.
Mhm.
And there's some other information that can be configured to display outwardly facing. And so we utilize some of those features, but the vast majority of this is for internal use.
Mhm. Right.
I've actually used this when I had a project and it was pretty user-friendly. A question for Director Bond is, do we know how long this information is kept online? Is it 2 years or 6 years or?
Well, we keep all of our records in accordance with our records retention schedules. And so I think all of the, prior to SmartGov, we had, Paladin had an older version of software that was a software that was installed on servers at the city. We still have all of that information because of record retention requirements. And so we hold on to that until projects are closed out, and then we go through our disposition process for records, where I think we keep certificates of occupancy. We keep certain information that's required under state law, and we can choose to dispose of other information. But as far as I know, we haven't gone through the permit system and gotten rid of digital records. We have gotten rid of some of our paper files, retaining only what is required.
And the reason I ask is I was wondering if a member of the public just figured, oh, it's online, it'll be there forever. So they can go back online and that's probably not the case. Yes, Mr. Warden, Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, there are, I mean, as far as like archives, Parcel Search maintains a lot of the sites and the permitting that's on there. So, I mean, they're not gonna, no, the general public is not accessing SmartGov, right? That's for whoever's obviously applying for permits, and it's designed for DCD for tracking, whatnot. Am I correct on the Parcel Search and maintaining?
No, Parcel Search is a totally separate system from SmartGov.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Okay,
Sometimes the hyperlinks to your program. Some counties, I'm not sure.
yeah, I'm not totally sure whether I think the county system certainly does. I don't know whether our system does or not, honestly, but we do retain all of our records in that system.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
And this is 100% of our permitting process. They're not different deals. Like, I know the county uses Camino. It's SmartGov, Camino. Okay, same thing. Okay.
Well, Camino is a separate software contract that we have, and so Camino is a system that helps people prepare their applications for submittal, and it makes sure that they have all the information that they need and sort of screens out incomplete applications on the front end of the submittal process. So Camino is a separate system from SmartGov. They play pretty well together, I would say, but they are separate systems. So,
yeah, okay.
but all of our land use permits for building, planning, and public works go through SmartGov. Animal variances go through paper in the clerk's office.
Okay.
All right. Any further yes.
And I'll just remind that we're obligated to do this under Senate Bill 5290. We really don't have a choice. And so this is what you call an unfunded mandate by the state that has affected every GMA, city and county in the state.
Thanks for throwing water on that.
Okay, any other comments or? All right, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And this passes unanimously. Okay, and our next item is adoption of a resolution approving a small works contract with Fox Heating and Air Conditioning LLC for 730 Prospect Street Building HVAC repairs project. And Director Ryan?
Good evening, council members. Before you tonight is a resolution for the replacement of some of the HVAC units for the 730 Prospect Street building. The city previously approved the purchase of the building at 730 Prospect where the HVAC units needed repair or replacement. This was identified prior to the purchase of the building. It was identified as something that was near end of life. The city's Public Works Department outlined 5 options for the HVAC project, focusing on removal and replacement of specific train and carrier units, all dated to 1992 when they were installed. Focusing on the removal and replacement, as mentioned, Using the MRSC Small Works roster, the city solicited bids and invited 242 contractors to participate. 13 contractors attended a pre-bid walkthrough and 6 bids were submitted. After evaluating the options, the city has decided to proceed with options 1, 2, and 3, which is replacing all 3 of the rooftop units that condition approximately 8,000 square feet of space, selecting Hawks Heating and Air Conditioning LLC as the lowest qualified bidder. Total cost is $56,487.40. I will mention that this price is part of the previously approved amount that was budgeted for the purchase and minor repairs for the building. So we've completed the painting, and this would be the final project for this purchase. Happy to answer any questions.
I'll entertain a motion. Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Hawks Heating and Air Conditioning LLC for the 730 Prospect Street Building HVAC repairs project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or comment?
I'll have a question or two, just because looks like the recommendation is to fund the 3 options. There was option 4 and option 5 and a couple of alternates in there. Does this get everything hunky-dory? Or are we going to be up to speed when all this is done?
So options 4 and 5 were for 2 basement units. One was taken offline several years ago. One was the air conditioning was taken offline. After this pre-bid walkthrough with all these experts of the industries, it was discovered that the units for options 4 and 5 just heated the basement, which is storing some records. It was previously a conditioned space because of former use, but no longer is. Typically, a basement is going to be some of your best energy value. It's going to be cool in the summer and warmer in the winter. So this will take care of all the issues that are occupied spaces from ground floor and the upper floors.
So we don't have any future potential use for the basement.
To meet fire code, I don't anticipate
Okay.
any future use.
Okay. Thank you.
So the basement is only for storage and not for
Not for occupancy.
probably be a very comfortable office in the summer. Okay. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, let's vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem.
That's all right. And the motion passes unanimously. Okay, and our next item is approval of change order number 4 to contract 5923 with Stellar J Corporation for the Marina Pump Station improvement. And this is Director Ryan.
Thank you. So before you is a resolution for the authorization of change order number 4. The city identified a need to improvement of the Marina Pump Station previously for the capacity and reliability of the system. City Council initially authorized design work in 2020, followed by a construction contract with Stellar J Corporation. During construction, issues such as compromised sewer infrastructure and an aging air vacuum relief valve were discovered, requiring emergency actions and multiple change orders to address these problems. Most recently, change order 4 was proposed to replace one high-risk ARV valve, which was completed during a night shift on August 2024. This change order increases the contract increases it by $75,495.91, bringing the total project to $15,343,139.35. An additional ARV replacement is planned in the future. Staff recommends the council authorize change order number 4 to cover the recent work. I'm also happy to go into a little detail and share, if I can share my screen, how this works in our system. Not?
Are you on Zoom?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not. I won't be able to share it. Sorry.
Yeah, on Zoom.
No, I'm not logged on. I'm sorry. I apologize. So I'll share our new asset management system later at a later time. But this ARV valve is downflow from this new pump station. We are doing bypass pumping right now. It's putting some strain. We have surge movements coming when certain flows hit us. We are going to have a top of the line pumping system. Discovering these systems downstream, this was approximately 1980 that this ARV was. It wasn't properly working. There was a cap that was placed on one side of it. that could have been a catastrophe down the road if we don't fix it. It's if we don't fix it now, we're going to be fixing it down the road and spending a lot more money and possibly some environmental issues.
Would anyone like to make Councilmember Morrissey?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to make a motion. Staff recommends. I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion for to authorize the mayor to execute change order number 4 to contract number C59-23 with Stellar J Corporation for the Marina Pump Station Improvement Project to increase the contract by $75,495.91 for a contract total of $15,343,139.35, applicable taxes included.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Yes.
Yeah, just two quick thoughts. One, it did come before the Utilities Committee. They've been keeping us apprised of the work on that and that we remain within budget. I know we have numerous change orders on this project, not unforeseen with the scope of this project, and so strongly recommend moving this forward.
Are we still in budget? That seems to be really, I think we're getting close, aren't we?
Yeah, so we would rely upon the contingency funding. So we will reduce contingency as we increase the contract. But with this change order, I think we'll still have 375,000 of contingency still available to close us out.
All right. Don't spend it all. Is there a completion date? Do we know of one?
We are still tracking for completion in approximately September of 2025.
Ooh,
it's awesome.
Okay, so is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And the motion passes unanimously. Next, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of September 24th?
Mayor Pro Tem move to approve the minutes of September 24th, 2024 as presented.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yep. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And the minutes are approved
One abstention.
with one exemption. Thank you.
You catch.
All right, next we have a discussion item, which is the 2023-24 and 2025-26 biennial budget with Director Crocker.
So we originally just put this on as a discussion to, again, talk budget every meeting we can as we approach our final adoption. I did come back with a couple other pieces of information as requested. Councilmember Rosa Pepe asked about working capital stabilization and reserves. So that's the first subject I want to touch on real quick. Let me see if I can share my screen. Going a different
Page
way.
207 for those following online.
Okay, I think we're almost there. Okay, good. Checking back. So the first part of the discussion, I want to focus on what the reserve policies say. So our reserve policies out of our financial policy manual say that maintain reserves, contingencies, and ending fund balance of the various operating funds at levels sufficient to protect the city's credit as well as its financial position for emergencies. We strive for a two-tier structure. That's where we have the working capital as well as stabilization. So I'm going to kind of walk through our working capital first. So the general fund, which is our 001 and 002 fund, current expense fund is our 001, our street fund is 002, but combined we call them the general fund. The general fund shall maintain a minimum unreserved ending fund balance of at least 12.5%. And this is equivalent to roughly 45 days of an operating budget. With the intent to move towards a funding balance of 25%, or roughly 90 days, as funding allows. The enterprise funds have a slightly higher threshold, as they have a minimum of 17% or 60 days of working capital. And again, with the end goal being 25% being the target. So as we look down here to our third slide, hopefully that's large enough on the screen, you can see here. I want to display what we have currently in our final proposed budget, 001 there, a balance of $3,029,000. You can see right across the row, it meets the minimum of 12.5%, the 45 days. It meets the minimum, the 17% target, and we're working towards that 25%. So you can see what the checks and then the X mark means. We're not quite there at the 25% or 90 days of working capital per the 26 ending budgeted balance. But this is the tool that we're using when we're kind of making budgetary decisions. We're staying within our policy minimums and working towards a 25% goal. Likewise with the enterprise funds, again, slightly higher threshold at 17%, 60 days. They all meet that requirement, and only the water enterprise fund fails it at the 25%. But again, we're right in that kind of in-between stage of probably 20%. So probably 75 days of working capital is where we're at. And so I think this meets our targets, meets our policy guidelines, and gives us the flexibility to kind of make the budget decisions that we have. And it gives us a good benchmark as we kind of develop the budget. So that's working capital. I will point out that these numbers are a little fluid. So you can see here at the top, there's a 25 and 26 average. So we look at 25 specifically, then we look at 26, and we take the average of the two, because sometimes we are higher in 2025, and then we're lower in 2026, depending on where the dollars are budgeted. So this is where the biennial budget gets a little fluid. So the average makes a lot more sense rather than sticking to one number for 25 and one number for 26. And you'll see this next year, specifically as we do budget adjustments, then the math changes. Or if you move budget authority from 25 to 26, the math will change. So taking the combination of the two and creating an average as your target makes a lot more sense for how we budget for biennial purposes. So that's our working capital. That keeps us fluid, keeps cash in the bank. It allows us to write the checks for payroll and AP, keeps us liquid. The next is stabilization fund. Now the stabilization is really more the emergency fund that takes an act of council to release those funds. And so I did put down here in the bottom in the very small print, the qualifying events that would have to take place and then council action to release those funds. But at the top, we want to say that the general fund, again, has a 17% target, 60 days of its expenditures, and enterprise funds have a slightly higher target at 25% of its annual budget expenditures. So when we slide on down to the table, we can see right here, with what we have budgeted for ending fund balance in our 003 fund, which is our standalone stabilization fund, we have $3,285,000. So the target's really $3,307,000 over this 25-26 average target. And to me, when I'm looking at it, that's close. That's very close when you're only 15, 20,000 off. As we kind of move throughout the year and earn interest, I would expect us to fully meet that target. But keep in mind, the target will also change based on council's decisions in 2025 with funding requirements. So that is very close. It probably was on target before we made some adjustments in this recent movement from preliminary to final. So it's not there's not a big enough gap in my mind, to make that adjustment. Similarly, you'll see 412, which is our water fund. We expect to end with $1,150,000. We're only shy $29,000 of our average target. Again, not enough to move the needle. Again, you'll see for 2022 is now appropriately 665. So in the preliminary budget that we just discussed, I had it at 965. So again, going through the exercise, recalculating, I identified, hey, this was grossly overfunded for our target purposes. So we were able to successfully back that down, and we are hitting our target for our storm fund. We also hit our target for our sewer fund. So those are all good benchmarks and metrics for us as we kind of look at our financial stability, is that we're hitting our stabilization targets and we're hitting our working capital targets with the proposed budget that we have in place. So I'll just take some questions if you have any, or if that was good, we can move on to the next topic.
No, I'd like to say, no, thank you for bringing this up to the council. It just shows that how physically conservative and responsible we are. And so I appreciate bringing these forward with these numbers. So thank you, Noah.
Yep. I think it's also very helpful because it dovetails nicely with the fund summaries that you spoke of earlier, because now it makes sense that, you know, when you see an ending fund balance of 3 million, you're thinking like, ooh, we have money we can use. But what I almost wish is that the fund summary had an asterisk saying that, you know, yes, it looks like there's 3 million, but it's really only 98% of our stabilization fund. So we'll know that it's not like money that's unallocated, I guess.
Yeah. And for those new council members, I mean, when I first got here, I think we weren't even close to our stabilization targets. I think we had maybe $50,000 in stabilization. So the council truly committed over the last 7 years to put money towards working capital as well as stabilization. And when we got there, I think in the last biennial budget, and it makes a big difference as we then talk about budget, because that's one less item we have to fund. Similarly, when we took the next step to fund our ER&R, that was a big expense, a big item. We were able to move out of the conversation because it could become self-funded every year. And we kind of had a good handle on that. So the council did a lot over the last few years. Any other questions on that topic? No? So the next handout in your book, hope you take a look at it. Not much to talk about. It's just, I asked our fleet manager to put together a book of what our fleet looks like. Bring some pictures, some descriptions of the vehicles, just to give you a better sense of what the total city's ER&R fleet looks like. So it's more of a handout for you to have. We work with Public Works to get descriptions, and you'll see the VIN numbers. It's a first step as we're trying to constantly improve our transparency of the city and communicate better about how we operate and what we do. So just another step forward, the ER&R book, as I call it.
Who is the fleet manager?
Gretchen Isaacson is the fleet manager in the finance department. And we really manage it from a team perspective because Public Works is involved. They have their operations managers involved. We have the mechanics involved. So she is really helping to manage it from the finance side, budgeting side, as well as making sure we're purchasing things that are authorized. You'll note here, there is a memorandum from the police chief. This I included because this will come forward as a budget amendment for 23-24, and we'll talk about it in a second here. But this asked the chief to put together a description of the safe boat, which is in the shop and needs repairs. So this will be a budget amendment coming forward for roughly $30,000 in the 23-24 biennial budget. But you could read that over at your convenience.
This computer overheating.
I think somebody's vacuuming.
Oh, thank you. Now we know what it is.
I know, vacuum.
Good vacuum.
On a microphone. There had to be a microphone somewhere.
Maybe they're listening to our meeting.
Huh.
The next couple of documents, so let's keep moving on here. I include in here is the 23-24 salary table. So I'm trying to shift gears a little bit. We talked a little bit about 25-26. I want to talk a little about 23-24 because I'll bring forward the final budget amendment on the 26th for the 23-24 budget. The salary table has a lot of cleanup measures. You'll see a lot of strikeouts here, and I'll just walk through a couple of them so you're familiar. We are reclassifying the title of police chief to chief of police. as preferred. You'll see further down, we are eliminating an operations manager position. Again, a lot of these eliminations were part of the Public Works reorg. And so this is our first opportunity to come back and clean up the table now that we've filled those positions in FTEs and I have a reorganization in place. So this operations manager, I believe, was Jackie before.
No.
It was Jeff. Yeah. All right, maybe I don't want to go into the shuffle, but these are now obsolete vacant positions. So we're cleaning up the table in anticipation of bringing in a new table for 25, 26. Same is true with the mechanic. So we eliminate one mechanic because he became a lead mechanic now. So just change titles. Same is true with the maintenance technicians. We're eliminating 2 because they came lead maintenance technicians in the FTE table and count. Now, the one position that we are truly adding an FTE for is the civil engineer 1 position. Public Works recently had interviews. We were targeting a 1 or 2, whoever we best qualified. So this candidate will come in as a 1 under the 23-24 biennial budget. So we want to take the opportunity now and add that to the table as they are ready to hire that candidate. Is there anything you'd like to say about that?
So yes, so we were successful. I think December 7th is the start date, December 5th or 7th, first week of December.
The candidate is hesitant to give notice until he knows he has a position to come to.
And they will be relocating from Spokane area. So this is an employee, so we were looking for a 1 or 2. This is an employee who has about 7 years of engineering experience, and they are due to test for the professional engineering license within the next few months. They're currently holder of an engineering and training certificate. So both of our engineering ones are EIT. One's coming in with about 1 or 2 years of experience that we've had in place for a few months now. And then this additional one has about 7 years. So we do expect them both to achieve the professional engineering level here in the next year.
When do we need to approve these positions?
So I'm bringing the budget amendment on the 26th. This will be the final budget amendment. That's why we're walking through the table now.
Okay.
And we thought that would give us enough time for the candidate to come in place in December.
Director Crocker, I might call your attention to the seasonal public works position. I believe council had already made motion to increase that salary. Is already higher. I believe we were paying those workers this summer higher than what's on this table, on the maximum.
We are simply paying at the top of that range. We're still within your authorized range. We can't exceed that.
So I was just pointing out our authorized range, whenever it was earlier this spring, was higher than what's on this table.
We heard the number of 25.
For 20.
Yeah, I thought we were at 20.
Well, maybe we didn't. I thought.
I will check and verify that.
Please do.
That the dollar's correct.
There may be somebody in my household who experienced that.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Oh, interesting.
You'd like a rebate? Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yes. The seasonal will change in 25, 26 also, but I will confirm, at least when I bring the final budget amendment, that the table is correct. I will note, so the civil engineer 1 is just a little bit tricky in how we do this in the city. So I have a footnote there that currently there are only 2 FTEs funded. We had a level 1 and a level 2. We are not hiring the level 2, right? We're going to have a level 1, so we have 2 engineers still. But it's going to look like there's 3 FTEs in there. So we are not actually hiring a 3rd. The intent is to put them in the proper classification and have the funding available to them. And it's going to be a little tricky next year also. You'll see this on the 25, 26, as we expect this engineer 1 to take the test and be eligible for promoting up into the civil engineer 2. So when I bring forward let me cover that one more time just to make sure it's clear. So we have 2 civil engineers 1s. Both, if they sit for the test, will be eligible to promote up to a civil engineer 2. I don't know when that will occur. It could occur in January, February. So we're trying to write this salary FTE ordinance to give us the flexibility that we don't have to bring it back to council and do a whole budget amendment for a promotional opportunity. So we're going to work with legal counsel to give us that kind of flexibility, but the intent is still to have not add that additional employees, if that makes sense.
I think the mayor already covered that with us, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. All right, so the next table is the income statement. Again, this is for 23, 24. I just want to highlight a couple of the items. So far, I haven't found a whole lot of amendments that need to come forward. Again, I got another week and a half to clean and review. So there still might be some housekeeping items coming forward. But at this point, I just want to point out the couple that I mentioned here. The police safe boat repairs. So we will, it's in the shop now. We want to get that boat repaired and back in the waters. So that's roughly another $30,000 coming from the general fund to our E&R fund. So you see the additional authority going to E&R, and the E&R pays for the repair. You will also see well 11, or excuse me, not well 11, our fund water 411. Well 8 needs a chlorinator. That recently broke down, is obsolete. That's $95,000 unexpected. Recently informed about it last week. So I'm adding that in to ensure that we have the flexibility to fix that piece of equipment. And I don't know if the Public Works Director wants to add anything to that or if that's sufficient.
Well, that dollar amount, I'm happy to give some clarification. This is, again, our aging infrastructure. So our chlorinator at one of our wells went down. This is the automation process. So right now, staff is daily, sometimes several times a day, going in there and they're manually batching the chlorine to disinfect our water system for that well. So it's a safe practice. It's just redundancy, and it's not the best utilization. Good. Sorry.
So Dennis, when will that be repaired?
So we will have to go out and get quotes, and then we'll get the equipment on the way. So it's just the process.
Okay, I didn't know if you were doing that under emergency, that's all.
It's difficult calling an emergency with the lead time on the equipment delivery. So.
All right, thanks.
And I think that's a good, I want to focus on that for a minute, because you might see, I just mentioned how I'm going to come back for 25, 26. You might see me add another 95,000 for 25, 26, depending on the timing. Again, I want to make sure we have the budget authority to go out and make the purchase. I don't have to come back in January to amend the budget. So that might be one, after talking with Public Works and their timing over the next week or so, I might add into the 25, 26 amendment. And those will be the type of things, again, I'll talk about it at the final meeting, but those are the type of things I'm looking for. Anything that's going to cross over my fiscal year and somehow constrain me because our budgetary authority expires. So that was the last one that I had on 23, 24. Again, not a whole lot. We're going to be looking closely over the next week or so and looking at the salary tables, make sure that the rates are correct. Oh, the other thing I did want to mention, I know we talked about this a while ago, but someone else had asked if I had mentioned this. 25, 26 does assume a COLA. So in the past, the council would always approve a COLA for non-represented employees. We have our represented employees, their pays are adjusted based on their contracts. Non-represented employees, we adjust as a part of the biennial budgeting process, and we bring that to council in the ordinance and whereases. So the current budget does assume a COLA of 3.8% for non-represented employees. I just want to make sure that I mentioned that to the council, if there were any questions on that.
Yeah, Director Crocker, what were the COLAs for the last 2 years? Or approximate, that I'm not looking, I guarantee it wasn't 9% for inflation.
I think
so that's
last year it was 4% because we typically cap the COLA in alignment with our Teamsters contract. And I believe the cap is 4%.
It was 4.
Yeah.
Both years, the 2 prior years?
Well, so there was a salary study done in, I believe, the end of 22 or 3, the end of 23, which we then looked at non-represented scales and adjusted by market, and then included a COLA into 2024 to keep us current.
I have those numbers if you'd like me to share them.
Perfect, yeah, thanks.
In 2023, it was 4.6%. I think that was the year that the CPI was really high. We did 4.6%. In 2024, as Noah was just explaining, some employees saw a market adjustment, but on the base COLA was 3.8.
Thank you.
And just to piggyback on Mayor Pro Tem, if I'm correct, Debbie, not everybody saw a market adjustment. So we didn't take people down, but some people, not everybody saw a market adjustment.
Not everybody got the full 3.8 even, yes.
Yep.
And back, if I may, to Councilmember Morrissey's, I do have access to the payroll system and we were paying within the range.
Oh, you were, okay. I could have swore we had a 20, I have 26 in my head for whatever reason. So thank you for checking that. That stuck. I thought we approved up to there because we want quality people, right? You can go down to a fast food restaurant. Anyhow, I won't go down that road. But you just thank you. I know. Thank you for answering the questions about the COLAs. I'm in support of that as well.
Are there any questions on the salaries for 25, 26? I will mention, since the Guild is in negotiations, we hold them constant because they're in negotiations. So we wait until that has concluded, and then we will adjust based on those conclusions.
I thought that was really cool how you put down all the, the cars and the police cars and your guys' the facility cars. Now, are these the two UV cars that we just purchased? They're not on here, are
Yes,
they?
they're in there. If you look in the DCD department as well as the Public Works Department, they're.
Which ones were those? Because I thought, yeah, they were EV SUVs. I thought I didn't see those two.
It's on page 218.
Oh, these ones right here. Okay, thank you.
And
The engineering, yeah.
Yeah, nice pictures. Any further questions for Director Crocker on the biennial budget?
There is. Yeah.
And do you have any further?
No, I just want to make sure that I'm touching base with the council on both what to expect for 23, 24, final budget amendment, as well as the final budget coming forward on the 26th. We have a placeholder for work session for budget discussion, but unless I have something to bring that's new and different, we could probably punt that, but we'll wait till next week to decide that.
Okay. All right, next we're on to the council advisory committees. Okay, it's hard to tell if there are any reports. Economic Development Tourism hasn't met. Utilities?
No, I haven't met.
Finance, we meet in 2 weeks. Next week, I guess. Transportation,
We reported out, but
okay. Land use?
Nope.
Okay, lodging tax.
I believe we reported out. We met once, but I think we've had a meeting since then. I am noticing.
It should be November 20th.
Thank you. You just sent me for a scramble that says the next date, and I was like, I'm out of town that day. It can't be that day. So I was just looking for my notes, so thank you.
Yeah.
And our next meeting where we should finalize our recommendations to council will be on the 20th to bring at a subsequent council meeting from there.
Okay, and sewer advisory probably did not.
No, we did
Okay.
actually. We had a meeting on October 29th. We recommended approval of the sewer facilities budget moving forward to their board. I want to thank Noah and his team. The ERUs and the budget matched what they had projected, so that's always good news. We also just real quickly, where Noah had mentioned about projects moving from 24 to 25 and subsequent budget may move, they gave us an update about 5 projects that were moving into the 25 budget. They're still on an annual budget. They do not budget biannually. So everything's moving smoothly there, and our next meeting isn't until February.
Okay, thank you. Are there any outside agency reports? I'm not seeing any. Okay, how about department heads? Director Ryan, why don't you go first?
Thank you. Well, my daughter let me know that the day after Halloween, somebody said it was time. So we are in full holiday spirit in the downtown. We've got the new year-round marquee lights installed. That was all done by staff. Those do meet L&I requirements where we can leave them up year round. And then when the holiday season officially kicks off, we will rotate the light bulbs with the clear red and green lights as well. So festive and then a year-round look. Our tree is coming, I believe the day is November 20th. So there'll be some activity out front here by the police station. And other than that, everybody's getting the spirits and looking forward to the event. So thank you.
Director Ryan, I'd just like to add, those lights add so much to our downtown.
They do.
Thank you to you and your entire staff. I don't know whose idea it was. The fact that they can be changed out is even better. Great job.
And they are LED, so low consumption.
And they're all on all 4 quadrants. Very nice. Yeah. Director Crocker, do you have anything else for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, you may have seen an email come out from me. We have an entrance invite from SAO. So we kick off our audit tomorrow with SAO. We'll have our meeting there at 2 o'clock. We have Councilmember Morrissey joining us. So that's fantastic. It shouldn't be more than 15, 20 minutes. But the audit gets started. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Director Bond.
Yeah, I just wanted to report that on October 29th, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the comprehensive plan. There are some new comprehensive plan documents on the city's comp plan website. We did not, despite keeping the public hearing open for a second meeting, we didn't have additional public testimony. And so I think we have successfully addressed the public testimony that's been received. We're still working through a few Puget Sound Regional Council comments, and we'll be bringing that to the Land Use Committee meeting next week, as well as to the work study meeting a week from now. And so we look forward to having further discussion. If you see something in the plan, or if you've been reading documents or see something in the new documents, please feel free to reach out to my department with any questions that you have so we can be prepared. Our goal is to adopt by the end of the year so that we remain eligible for funding for grants and loans and other sources that require us to be compliant with the Growth Management Act. And so we hope that there aren't any hangups and that we can work towards adoption over our next couple of meetings before the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney Archer, do you have anything for us?
I do not. Thank you so much.
And Director Lund, do you have anything for us?
I do. I have 2 things to update you on in the mayor's absence. The first is the mayor is required to let you know when we change job descriptions or make any alterations to job descriptions. We have done that with 2 job descriptions. One for the utilities compliance specialist. That position is recently vacated, so that job description was just general cleanup and a change in the title of the supervisor. The other is patrol officer. The state has recently changed eligibility rules under the civil service system for who can be patrol officers to include DACA recipients, which is a deferred action for childhood arrival recipient, and a requirement to must be able to speak English as well as read and write English. So we made those changes to those job descriptions. Additionally, the mayor is required to let you know when we change personnel policy. We have changed the personnel policy related to bereavement leave. We have extended that bereavement leave to include aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, sons-in-law, and daughters-in-law. Those were some gaps we identified. In addition, we've changed all the policies to be gender neutral terms. So it takes a little brain power to work through some of those still for this old dog. In addition, there was a form that was required that's now just a duplicate process. We've removed that because supervisors approve payroll electronically. So those are the 2 reports on the behalf of the mayor.
Thank you. And City Clerk Wallace?
Yes, just a education piece for the members of the public. A few months back, we switched how we manage our council packets as well as our committee packets. And so if they go to the City of Port Orchard website, which is portorchardwa.gov, you can scroll down just a little bit and then you will see the City Council Advisory Meeting Documents link, and that will bring you here. So all of our upcoming meetings, as we become aware of them, will be placed here. Once the packets of, the agenda is available and the agenda packets, some have packets, some just have the agendas, they'll be available here. If the meeting has already happened, you just scroll down a little bit and here are all of the prior meetings. We have about 4 months of 2023, the latter half of the year, of city council packets, not so much of any of the land use or the committee meetings, but we do have probably about 95% of all of 2024 city council, land use, committee meetings, planning commission, all of those are all there. And you just hit the plus bar and there they all are. And then also a nice feature that this software allows the public to do is sign up for notifications. So as soon as any of these packets are available to the public and you want to be notified, you just subscribe and you will get notified as soon as it is published. And that is for any and all of the committee or council meetings you want to be abreast of. So that is my report tonight.
Thank you. Randy, could you show us again where you subscribe? Is the button doesn't say subscribe, it says. Okay. Okay. Okay, then it brings up another window with the individual committees. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. We have a second citizen's comment, and we have no one in the audience, and we have no attendees online. So is we next go finally to go to the order. Does anyone have something? Yes, Councilmember Diener.
So I had sent an email to the mayor asking for us to talk about the special meeting that we had and to see if that met people's expectations and what next steps were, and perhaps to consider a 7-year vision plan in spite of the comp plan as you know, more direct guidance. But it seems like we were moving in that direction. So I'm hopeful that that can be a work study item.
I'd like to go last.
Okay. Councilman Morrissey, do you have anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can come back if you change your mind. I have 2 quick items. One is just a reminder that if you haven't taken the Port of Bremerton Airport Survey, that is open through next Monday, the 18th. It's relatively painless. And on November 1st, we attended the Greater Kitsap Chamber annual gala. Thank you, Councilmember Morrissey. It was a lot of fun, and they had the largest dessert table I've ever seen. And Councilmember Fred, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Councilmember Warden?
Yeah, I'll email out the copy with council. Councilman Rosa Pepe and Chang sent me theirs. Terrific. I've been out of town, to be honest with you, last week or so I haven't had a chance to do that. As Director Ryan stated regarding the Christmas tree being delivered, I'm on that holiday committee, and I went to Lowe's and talked to them about donating and helping us spice it up a little bit. And yesterday, Kathleen Wilson, myself, Kim Shaw, went there and picked up thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of donated products. So there's some garages that are full, but yeah, it's going to be a really good event.
Yeah.
Several people in the community have really stepped up, you know, to help out, and I think it's going to be a real special event. So I won't be walking around much, obviously, there, but I'm hoping to be there. So yeah.
And Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Yeah, that's December 7th.
So a couple items. Appreciate if the council would indulge me for a second. First of all, thank you, John, for hosting the table at the gala. It was a very interesting event showcasing throughout the county the businesses, not just the award winners, but the ones that were nominated were pretty awesome. Dennis went down, I know we've talked about this before, went down Pottery today, the road striping, putting the street on a diet, getting the crosswalk, electronic crosswalk up for the kids. It's friggin' awesome. very greatly appreciated. It's improved the safety of that road. There's no doubt about it. It's great to see where we are with public safety tonight. I know the police chief's not here right now, but you know, it's been well, the department heads have had trouble recruiting also. The police department's been tougher than usual. And so it's great to have a night like tonight on that. Just echoing a couple things on the that you'll see with Coffee with the Council. One was about, for me, was about the post office exit. I'll be sending that to the Transportation Department. There was a sewer and water charge question that requires a little bit of research. And then one that came up, and it's something that I'm not sure who would be handling it, but it was a discussion about food truck permitting, which was interesting only because there was a huge article in Seattle this past week, both on, I think it was King 5 and also in the newspaper, talking about the number of unlicensed food trucks that have come up. And so the question was from the citizen about how are we ensuring that food trucks are being licensed as they become more prevalent in the city. Just, you know, again, as a role as council is just kind of oversee, not going up and asking people for permits, but it was a good question and go from there. The other thing I'd like to say, I do appreciate the council as we've gone through the year, getting a little bit more formal, recognizing, not stepping on each other. It is helpful in monitoring the discussion. Quite frankly, the mayor has, he'll watch this, I know, and chastise me. He kind of, you know, said, hey, don't get too much of that angry uncle, get off my lawn personality about people stepping on each other. But conversely, I do appreciate when people wait to be recognized because it does help with the conversation, let people finish comments. So I do appreciate where we've started with the year. And as we move into the holiday season of good cheer, of saying thank you all for doing that. So thanks. That's
Jay,
it.
I just want to add, you did recently have that walker.
I did.
That walker. You did recently.
And you're having it soon.
And I'm having it soon. So.
I did think of something while we were going through that. Thank you to the team that put this room together. They may have done it a little too much, right? Whether it's just better windows and all that. It is warm in here tonight, but thank you.
No, it's not.
It is not up here.
No.
Feels like 78. Okay,
67.
hearing no more comments, the meeting is adjourned.
Adjourned.
Okay.